Hello and welcome to Revenue Radio, powered by Kassouf and Kassouf Healthcare Solutions, where we enhance the business of medicine. My name's Jeff Dance. I'm the Executive Director of Kassouf Healthcare Solutions. We're a full-service managed services organization, and our sole goal is to make sure that your practice runs smoothly, that your revenues, your profits, your net income, all of those fit towards your business goals in the healthcare setting. Today we have back with us Ramsey White from Innovative Billing Solutions, where he serves as the Vice President of Sales and Business Development. Ramsey, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, thanks. You helped us out on a prior episode, understanding how merchant services works within the whole credit card payment processing and such at a medical practice or in a medical practice. I guess even a revenue cycle company.
Definitely.
Can help. And we wanted to talk today, kind of as a follow-up, along the lines of the technology that you're seeing that practices need to consider. And we'll get into that and some of those items. But give us real quick a little background on yourself, as well as Innovative Billing Solutions, how you guys function within the credit card processing piece. And then we'll have some questions along the lines of technology, which is really cool.
Yeah,
all right.
It's one of my favorite things to talk about.
Ramsey.
Thanks for having me. So just quick intro. Our name is Innovative, and we've had to be that for sure. So we're actually family owned. I'm second generation, and my father started the business back in the early '80s, and he actually was selling medical forms. You know, those forms that used to have the custom printing, you tear them and hand off.
Yeah.
And so he did that a long time, and then obviously the internet came, and our clients started saying, how do we get payments online? So we created an online payment portal that we started integrating with medical softwares to grab the account number and be able to send reporting back so that our practices knew where to post those payments. And then obviously in 2008, the iPhone came out. So we started looking at mobile solutions. And that's a big part of our latest innovation is creating mobile, sending out text or emails with links to pay that are secure and have the ability to auto post back into the software. So just some really fun stuff that's addressing the needs and kind of the demands of patients now. They want mobile. They live almost their whole life on a mobile device, and so we need to be able to connect with them.
Yeah, those dot matrix printers probably there's some warehouse somewhere that's got them, and
some landfill somewhere.
Yeah, somebody's pulling those little printer cartridges out to be able to help the airlines and whoever else has a few of those sitting around. But good. Well, technology. You know, we've come through the COVID where people were either driving by tents and all of what apps, payment apps. We see it in regular retail. We certainly don't want to consider healthcare a retail type of business, but there are aspects of it that occur. There's time, there's efficiency, there's accuracy. People want to get their bills paid. We hope you're a big part of that as the agent, as we learned last time. To what we do. How can we've got the swipers. Maybe your dad was in the kind of the crunchers that they used to have. But now we got swiping. We don't have swiping. We've got online options. Kind of give us a real strategy thought process as to how we as a practice manager or practice owner can move into the new technologies without changing it every month, because that's going to happen. But what are some new technologies and new efficiencies that we can think about that are cost effective that can help our practices?
Yeah, well, this is something I love talking about, so I appreciate you having me on. So in 2020, I've heard a lot of people say our technology advanced within a year, and typically what happens in like a 7-year span. A lot of what we saw was a gravitation to contactless payments, Actually, Visa came out that contactless payments increased by 40% during 2020. A lot of that was necessity. We started realizing, hey, communicable diseases, the things we touch are dirty, and we want to limit those touches. So we saw a lot of mobile solutions pop up. Telehealth, how do we get paid in telehealth? We need to have some way of facilitating that in a secure transaction. We've also seen people are becoming more and more comfortable with a shift away from a physical card to a mobile wallet. We're seeing more and more of that. We'll continue to see it. And I want to encourage people not to be scared by that. Sometimes different generations are just wary of that. Yeah. And I want to actually say it's amazing.
Probably doesn't work on a flip phone.
Well, hey, you never know. The flip phone could come back.
But the Android or the
Android, iPhone, Google phones now, they all have mobile wallet capability. And I know that can mean a lot of different things, but what I mean is using your phone to take payments and to pay for things, or using an Apple Watch to pay for things. Even now we're seeing that some states are allowing you to upload your driver's license to your mobile wallet on your phone. So it's pretty amazing. TSA will let you get on the plane. Yeah. We'll see more of that, and I believe we'll see our health insurance cards eventually uploaded to a mobile wallet.
Maybe go into the QR code.
Yeah, QR code. Scan it. Scan to check in. Everything. Yeah. Mobile pre-check is becoming a big thing. And I really encourage people to look at that. One, to decrease no-shows. No-shows are a huge problem. But think about this. If a patient pays their copay the night before, $40, $60, whatever it is, are they going to show up?
Yeah.
They're going to show up.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, you make that payment, you're going to be there.
You're obligated to yourself, committed, absolutely.
You've made an investment in yourself, and you're going to make sure you get to redeem that the next day. Mobile pre-check is great. Finding a way to connect with patients on the front end, reminders, fantastic. Even having a link, hey, do you want to pay your copay? Here it is. I think it's fantastic. But I just encourage your listeners and I would even say, regardless of your specialty, be looking at mobile payment options. I want to focus on the word option because I want to be very clear. There are some patients who will pay with a check until they don't make checks anymore.
Right.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And we need to encourage whatever form of payment that patient feels comfortable with. We want to serve it up to them, give them the option to pay. Right. And if you don't have a mobile option, I think you're really missing out. You really are.
Are there, I guess just from a specification, technical specification type things, just basic internet at the practice, you want fiber and all of that as fast as you can get. But, a lot of our listeners may be in rural practices where there are some bandwidth issues and such. Connectivity and whatever. Is there any of that stands in the way of these options? That's a great
question. I'm really glad you asked that because rural clinics struggle sometimes with getting paid. It's not I don't believe it's because of the patient base. I believe it's because they don't have as many tools as maybe somebody in more of an urban setting. Now, what's really cool, there are payment partners out there who can facilitate text and email and online without being dependent on your local environment. So, for example, a lot of those clinics are sending out paper statements, but they may not know that payment partner, whoever's sending out that paper statement, they have a text or email option too that can facilitate a mobile payment. And they can send it back to the clinic. It doesn't have to be dependent on the local environment because it's cloud-based.
Right.
And when there's a cloud-based solution, everyone can benefit from it, regardless of if you're in a rural setting, urban setting, big city, small town. Everyone can benefit from it.
Is that your clearinghouse that you need to check with on that, or is it a separate bolt-on
It could be a revenue cycle partner.
Okay.
It could be we have our own solutions, and we're just a payment partner. But yeah, different clearinghouses, they might have a partner that does a piece of it. So just really asking those questions like, what do I have available to me now? Some software partners, they've got it integrated in. And I've noticed a lot of people don't know the technology capability they have for payments in their own software. They're just not familiar with it.
Right.
So it might be worth a phone call, hey, or a chatting support,
right.
whatever
right.
your way to connect with your software is. Look into it. You'd be surprised.
And not software developers, but the web developers, you want to find a web developer, the entity, the person, whoever it is that's developing your website needs to be able to understand how to integrate that link, I guess
right.
is the right
yes.
word,
yes.
for online payments and some of those new features.
Right.
And I would encourage, and I know, not that I'm a tech junkie or expert, but I do know that is one of the things that we look for
right.
as we guide our clients through. I want to get my website, updated or changed.
Right.
We want to look for a developer partner that understands that online payment processing piece to,
right.
I guess, work with an agent like yourself,
right.
Or an organization like yourself to be able to make that happen.
Right.
Because you may have a website that looks good, but it's the functionality of it's just
right.
not there.
Yeah, and actually, I'm glad you emphasize the website, because 90% of people, when they know they owe a business money, they go to their website first. And so think about it. You could have patient traffic coming to your website, and they can't pay, and they might call, and then they might be on hold, and you just got to think. Any barriers we have to keep a patient from paying, your results are going to go down. That days in AR is going to increase.
Yep.
We want to remove any of those barriers, and a website is a great place to have an entry point. It's your digital front door.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen this, Jeff, but some of our 1-2 providers, they don't even have a website.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I'm like, man, let's get a website up. Like, we want people to find you.
Right.
And I've especially seen it with providers who are maybe nearing the end of their career, who are looking for a transition person to come in.
Right.
You also need to consider, hey, our practice needs to be findable.
Sure.
Like, someone needs to be able to find us, to search us, who maybe is looking to move into this area. So, and having a payment option on there is only going to help connect and collect.
I think, too, a lot of those types of practices, they may not be fully functional on their EMR,
right?
And they're dependent on the practice management system, and then they've got this portal out there that they know they've got to have from their incentive issues and such, and closing the loops and gaps. So I think they just by default don't want to think about it. And, the portal will handle it, and that may not be the case.
Right, and I'm glad you said that, because my question is, how do they get to the portal? How do they get there? They need an entry point.
Right.
And we have noticed the portal. You need it to be compliant, but very few patients are using it.
Well, speaking of compliance, let's just take a quick rabbit trail real fast. PCI compliance. Do I have to have that? Is that something my insurance company provides? What do I need to do? I know there's cyber liability. We've had some insurance folks on that have talked about that. But from your perspective, in the credit card world, tell us what we need to know about PCI compliance real quick, and then we'll move on to other technologies.
Yes,
because it does fit.
It definitely fits, and it's incredibly important. It's also required. Anyone who is accepting credit card payments must show PCI compliance. It's a federal mandate. It's done usually on a quarterly basis or an annual basis, depending on your merchant service company. Now, what that usually entails is taking a questionnaire of how you're handling patient-sensitive credit card data in your office. Depending on if you're using a cloud-based solution, showing that no information is stored here at this physical location, so that you're not liable for that if a breach were to happen. But also showing your network is secure. We don't have any areas or pathways that are exposed that nefarious agents could come in and try to grab our credit card information. One of the things too is very simple, but you're not writing down credit card numbers in the office and then just leaving them on the counter.
Right. Put them on the sticky note. I'll get to that later. I'll charge that patient later.
Yeah, that patient wants me to call them at the first of the month.
Yeah.
Please don't do that.
Yeah.
But then also one thing we're encouraging people with being compliant is on your statements, I'm surprised how many clients have a write-in credit card option. And they don't know that the patients could be keying this in online themselves.
Right.
They just don't know. And so they have it there. Maybe they haven't even looked at their statement in 5 years. They don't know it's even there. But take that off.
Right.
Take it off. It's creating risk in your office.
Right. And the messaging on those statements is now pretty easy to use and change.
Yes.
It doesn't cost you anything. It takes a minute just to put them at, hey, visit our website, online page, whatever we want to message on there, even clinic hour changes and such. That's a great thought and helpful hint. But I know our great producer here, Russ Dorsey, who's our principal at Kassouf and IT director and manager, he's probably giving us a big thumbs up for making sure we talk about security and compliance. It's something we got to review.
Well,
right.
And I was going to ask. I didn't know I was going to be on today, so got a face for radio for sure. But
we always love having you with us.
I
Russ.
love to chime in.
Yeah.
We appreciate that. But the quarterly, the PCI compliance is quarterly, and it's a self-attestation, typically done through providers like you. You have a
so
portal
they
for
will.
that?
There's a portal that your merchant company will direct you to. Sometimes it's called a data guardian portal or a PCI compliance portal, and you do have to answer questions on how are you handling credit card data in the office. What methods are you doing that? And then depending on the method, they also will ask for, are you using like a gateway to handle payments? They want to make sure you're using a good gateway that's secure and that they give their stamp of approval for.
Yeah. But there's four, I call them flavors, but there's 4 levels of compliance: A, B, C, and D. And the one you want to get to, I think, is A, where basically you're not keeping credit cards on site at all. And then, so it's important, because I've seen practices misanswer that first set of qualifiers and then go through the much more detailed C or D as if they were storing credit card information. So you catch that, right?
Yes. Yeah, we try to support them through that, and we'll often get the IT company involved because it's not an easy questionnaire. It's not. It's ours.
Yeah,
it's like 100 questions.
Absolutely. It takes
time.
You're not going to just knock that out in an afternoon.
No.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a beast.
Some of them will even have their IT company on the phone or doing a screen share, because there is some technical jargon that, I mean, the everyday person, you're going to have no idea.
Sure.
So it's good to have them on to support you in that.
Right.
Yeah, and I would also suggest practices have been doing HIPAA compliance anyway since, before high tech, some of them, but all of them since high tech. And there are crosswalks available, cybersecurity crosswalks, where if you've got your HIPAA risk assessment and you got to do your PCI anyway, you can go out and Google these. But you can take answers from the HIPAA assessment you're already doing and plug it in.
That's great.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Do them together.
Yeah, and that's really the way you want to keep your documentation, so that when you're actually doing your policies and procedures, you just go ahead and footnote the HIPAA and the PCI piece of it that you're satisfying at that time.
That's great.
If you don't get through the PCI compliance, then your processor will charge you for as a premium, and almost like an insurance premium or a penalty for that matter.
It's a penalty for sure.
It's $7,500, whatever it is, a month.
Yes, it can get very expensive fast. So it's worth your time. It's worth doing, and just the peace of mind. Healthcare is so unique in that we're handling such sensitive information. I mean, stuff that is federally protected.
Right.
And credit cards are something that you want to make sure is just as protected.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that's a great segment there within, just to remind folks that it is a complex part of your practice,
right?
And the revenue cycle piece, the payment capture piece, to the full RCM. If Marty were here, she would echo all of this as far as efficiencies and the security piece and such in the revenue cycle. But it also fits into operations. Operations has to work with that front desk.
Yes.
Operations has got to. If you're the practice manager and you put on that operations hat, you're looking at all of these technologies and such, working with the IT vendors, and so you hear about technologies such as Square and NerdWallet and Helsum and some of these others. Is that an option for me? Is that something for me to consider in a medical practice? How does that fit with an Innovative or just Visa or whoever?
Right.
How does all of that work?
Well, we're really talking about gateways. So I know it's confusing, but there's a lot of different entities involved in a payment transaction. And a lot of people are using a gateway on top of their depositing entity, which might be TSYS or First Data. That gateway is a cloud-based reporting tool where all payments flow in. One of the unique challenges in healthcare is, especially with patient payment, our practices are taking payments from so many different places, really all times of day, after hours. We talked about on the last episode, insurance companies paying. Well, where do those payments go, and then how do you report them? So with a cloud-based reporting tool like Authorized.net, or we use e-processing as our gateway, or if you've used Stripe before, they are a processor and a gateway in one. Or PayPal is a processor and a gateway in one. They're the same.
Good.
Now, the disadvantage to that is they make you use their processor, as opposed to e-processing or Authorized.net. You can use your bank. You can use whoever your current processor is. You have more flexibility. Right. But from an operational standpoint, all those payments need to come into one place for centralized reporting, and it needs to be cloud-based. So you can access it from your home, from Starbucks, wherever you sometimes venture out, and be able to see those payments come in, and then also that each payment has an account number connected to it. That is crucial in healthcare. Yeah. What we're seeing more and more, Jeff, is the names on the cards are not always matching the patient in the software. That creates a posting issue, because now we have this payment sitting here and the practice doesn't know where to post it, or the revenue cycle team doesn't know where to post it. And guess what they do? They wait on the patient to call and say, hey, I paid that. And then they're like, you're the one we were waiting on.
Right.
So cloud-based integrated operational reporting tool like a gateway is going to mitigate a lot of that.
Let's talk hardware real quick.
Sure.
As you brought up the Apple Watch, does that mean I got to go and put it onto a device? We've seen in retail or restaurants where they actually bring the device to the table, stick the card in, you can punch in your tip and do all of that. How do you see, one, what would I need right now? Two, where do you see some of that future thinking going? And then we'll wrap with some concluding.
Tap to pay. It's all going to be tap to pay. So we still see a lot of swipers out in the field, but from a hardware standpoint, it's going to be moving to chip readers. Even readers that can sync up to like a kiosk. Readers that can, we see a lot of people are using our chip reader to put on the check-in counter. and letting the patient do the whole transaction. They tap to pay. The front desk person doesn't even have to touch the card, because we learned, and we talked about last episode, that credit cards are dirty.
Yeah.
They're never cleaned.
Right.
So having the patient do the whole transaction, it's easy, it's simple, it's streamlined, and it's also better for communicable diseases in the office.
Sure.
So, but then not only having a chip reader that you can tap to pay or even activate your mobile wallet on your phone and hold over, but that payment and that reader needs to connect to your practice management software or your EHR software. That payment needs to flow into your system.
So I want to make a call to them, make sure they understand what I'm trying to get accomplished. They may have some recommendations.
Yes.
And
it's built in.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is the EHR software is now becoming the POS terminal.
Right.
And it's communicating with that reader. So like a couple of our integrations, you pull up the patient inside of the software, you click scan card, and that patient taps and that payment flows in and it posts immediately. It's all hardware connected, it's all technology, and it's becoming really streamlined, better for the practice, and patients love it.
Sure. Well, Ramsey, thank you again for, well, come on, Russ.
Yeah, I feel compelled to
Jump back in.
jump back in real quick, just a minute.
Yeah.
As those devices come in, and we do see more of those devices, we have to talk about the Internet of Things.
Yes, we do.
And we have to talk about the
Yes.
security of those devices, and that
Yes.
you're putting these devices onto the network. So consult with your, I guess I could put the camera on me again, consult with your IT provider, because it's possible to segment those things, the card readers and the kiosks and all these things that the are going to be, they're processing the payments, because it's all going to go back to the cloud first anyway before it comes back to the EMR.
Right.
So it's possible to segment those things off, along with your thermostats and your aquariums and your refrigerators and all these other things that don't need to be on the same network
Yes,
as your
you're right.
EMR.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing. Plus, that'll help you pass the PCI DSS scans, because if you can give the provider a single IP address that they can scan that's only your credit cards, rather than your whole network that also has your patient Wi-Fi and all this other stuff on it, you get a cleaner scan back.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah.
Totally.
We'll have an episode on aquariums.
We need to have an Internet of Things episode.
Yeah. Well,
That'd be fun.
we're talking about getting something off your back in aquarium, but that was anyway.
I love it.
Done a few of those abatements. All right. Well, Ramsey, thank you so much. Russ, thanks for joining in and helping us out along this line. Tell us, Ramsey, how can we get in touch with you if we've got more of these types of questions?
Yeah, feel free to send any our way. We love this kind of stuff. So they can go to our website, is https://inbill.com. That's INNBILL.com, and they can click contact us, and we'll be happy to answer any questions people have.
Reach back out to them.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, again, we thank you for your insight and how we can maximize our practice operations, as well as our revenues, and all that we do within our practices. So again, to our listeners, thank you for being with us today. We hope to see you back soon on another episode of our Revenue Radio that's powered by Kassouf and Kassouf Healthcare Solutions, where we enhance the business of medicine. This is Jeff Dance, Executive Director of Kassouf Healthcare Solutions, wishing you a very good day. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks.